One of the most famous works of modern-day society has been The Starry Night of Vincent van Gogh, and one of the most known works of today's society has also been J.R.'s Eyes of the World. And the reason I'm using these two artworks are to compare the old and new status of works of art. The colors used were something that of bold, but instead was used in order to show something full of darkness. The irony in this seems quite pleasing to me that Vincent van Gogh's intentions were to create an image to represent something much more bold and strong, but because of the directions through the strokes and the color scheme creates a much more pleasing effect to the eye. Van Gogh was mainly towards the aspect of color and heavily dependent on it to show an aspect of emotion that was impossible to describe otherwise. Van Gogh's passion for the famous nighttime is clear in the Starry Night painting, where the calm sky sits over the peaceful town. This is J.R.'s work, and it is called The Eyes, and it has been published throughout many areas of the world. He goes into the most dangerous places of the world and places them in order to show the world of how great of a meaning it is. And instead of painting them, he plasters them. So it's much more different than what Vincent van Gogh does. JR uses the facial expressions of human beings in order to display his emotions instead of using the sense of color which Vincent van Gogh heavily depended on. Instead of using color, he uses black and white to show a much more deeper effect towards the human society, and it creates a much more visually appealing effect. Both works show a deep sense of emotions and expressions through their art, which is using Vincent van Gogh's sense of color or using JR's sense of visual effects on the human expressions. They both use a sense of color, although they are both different in their works. They both somewhat have a similarity also.